Welcome, my friends, to the Bob and Brad podcast. My name is Mike Keenitz, and today I am interviewing Brad Kolowich Jr., who is a personal trainer and author of the Bodyweight Blueprint book. He also runs a personal training studio in Atlanta, Georgia called Kolowich. He has worked with A-list celebrities including Tyler Perry, Alicia Silverstone, Luke Evans, and more. He has also had articles published within Men's Health and Men's Journal. Today, we are going to primarily be talking about his book, The Bodyweight Blueprint, as well as the benefits of bodyweight exercise and lots of other fitness tips. So without further ado, here is Brad. Well, welcome to the program, Brad. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So we are going to be talking about bodyweight exercises and talking about your new book, The Bodyweight Blueprint specifically. Is this you or someone else on the cover? This is you?
It's hard to believe. I know. If you look at that,
yeah,
guy,
you got a ponytail.
I know the long hair back. I mean, I know. And then I probably, what's so funny, Mike, is before the book was actually published, I cut my hair. So it was funny. I went to dinner with my wife, and we had one too many cocktails, I'm thinking, and I woke up the next day and it was gone. I woke up, I looked in the mirror, and the hair was gone.
Uh-oh.
Yes, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, she was definitely ready for it to go, and so there we go. It's gone. I know.
I know our audience doesn't know, but I once had long hair like that in high school, but now I can't grow hair for nothing. So.
But it looks good though. You grow a great beard.
We just grow it down there instead.
I love it.
So I'll get into the questions here. So what first got you into personal training, and did you always know this was your path?
So, personal training, both of my parents were in the industry, both in the industry together at one point. Mom's out of the industry, dad's still in the industry. Dad was a personal trainer for a very long time, baseball coach, PE coach, did that whole thing, prior to me being born, and even all the way up through today, in his early 70s, still personal training. So, as a kid, just being around him, I mean, from the day I was born and growing up and just seeing what he was doing with clients, working out with him in the basement gym and all that. Mom was an aerobics instructor for many years.
Oh,
At the big box gyms and all that. And I remember as a young kid going in and sitting in her classes, kind of in the back on the, she's teaching the step aerobics, right? They're wearing their leotards and they're all stepping and doing their thing.
Yeah.
I was in the back of the class, that guy just kind of observing. And, I was inspired by Mom, just the way that she was able to impact so many lives through the aerobic stuff, and Dad through personal training, that, I almost feel like I never knew any other way. It's not that they were, extreme when it came to the nutritional stuff. We ate very balanced and healthy, but not too extreme on that front. But they both were very active and still are very active. And like I said, Dad's still in the industry today. And so I guess I just never really knew any other. I went through school, and as I was kind of transitioning through school, in the back of my mind, I kind of always knew I wanted to be in fitness. But as you start to go through school, you start to think, well, there's all these other cool paths that I could go with this thing. I've known fitness my whole life, but there's all these different directions I could go with what I'm studying and all that. So I kind of started looking at some different avenues, did some different internships as I was going through school, and as I was doing that, real estate, and kind of looking at to go into some sales positions and things like that after school, I just, I was kind of, I just knew it wasn't for me. And so that's when I said, all right, forget it. I'm going all in, study for my certification at that point, kind of the tail end of school, and I was kind of transitioning out. And I just went gung ho into it. I knew that this is what I wanted to do with my life. And I, that was kind of it. And so, when I first started, tennis, I've got a background in tennis. So I was teaching tennis and kind of personal training at the same time, and then just transitioned out of the teaching tennis and the strength and conditioning component with those athletes into full-time training. And so never knew any other way. Both parents in fitness, and I kind of knew, again, and I tried to follow my gut, and here we are. I'm almost 43 years old, and it's kind of just been a part my whole life, and I love what I do. And I, almost feel like there's never enough time in the day, and to do this stuff. And so, yeah, just follow in the passion, and I'm big on that. And I think that if you follow your passion, follow your heart, whatever it is, whether it's painting or photography or personal training, I believe follow your path, and the money will come for sure.
So I think the real question is, do you like pickleball now, or are you still with tennis?
I actually really do enjoy pickleball.
Huh.
My dad's really gotten into that and loves it. Play with the neighborhood buddies, and so I'll get down there and enjoy it with them, every once in a while. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a very similar game in a lot of ways, but it's also very different too. But I love that. It seems like pretty much everybody, all fitness levels, can kind of get into it. It is tough on the knees, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I couldn't recommend it more for everybody. Assuming that the knees aren't too bad, I definitely recommend it. I love it. How about you?
Yeah, I played some pickleball. I played a lot in winter in the indoor place because I'm in Minnesota. But
Oh,
once it's nice out, I play ultimate frisbee and running and other stuff. So it kind of gets put on the back burner this time of year.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot.
So your book, The Bodyweight Blueprint, focuses on obviously no equipment workouts because it's purely bodyweight stuff. So why did you choose this route?
So many different. So these days, right, we have all the different apparatuses. We have barbells, cables, dumbbells, bands. We've got it all, at our disposal. So, oftentimes I feel like the body weight stuff can be forgotten. We have, really our body. I mean, we can create an unbelievable. If you're looking at from a physique perspective, you can create an unbelievable physique with just body weight stuff alone. So, I wanted to, with work with Human Kinetics, absolutely just an unbelievable publisher doing a lot of really cool things. And when we created this concept, it was just, to create something not only for those that may not have access to equipment, but ways to start implementing in some of these other really cool pieces of training that may have been forgotten. So what we've done is we've created a 12-week program specifically around bodyweight movement. So still targeting all the key muscle groups. A lot of really cool stuff in terms of supersets, trisets, giant sets, circuits, rest pauses, drop sets, compound sets. So just incorporating a lot of cool, ways to really change it up and keep things interesting, changing the exercises, changing the movement patterns. But, just a really nice way to not only, change up the training that we've all been used to, it seems like these days, with all the apparatuses, but a way that, people can do training when they're on vacation this summer. So I think it's a great little book for those that are traveling, those that are traveling not only for vacation, but also, traveling on business too. So it's a nice little resource, just an additional resource that for those who may not have the equipment or just wanting to implement some new things in.
Yeah, I think it's great for beginners or people that travel a lot, or even people as they age, just to master the basic movements. Because I started working out in middle school and high school gym for football, and I actually really didn't get into body weight stuff till I was a broke college kid. So I kind of went into it later, but I found it very beneficial. And then nowadays, like, I do go to a gym, but sometimes I work out at home, and oftentimes you can just I can just throw a weight vest on and everything you can do from this book, and it's like twice as challenging. So even people that are experienced lifters, it can just get hard again.
Yes, exactly. Right on.
So I actually was reading about you yet. So is it true you've helped actors get in shape for major films? And what is that process like?
How about that? Yeah. So, it's interesting. I, never with regards to working with, the actors and athletes and all that, that was never really like a part of the business plan, if you will. I mean, when I started, it was just kind of with a typical business professional. That's kind of, with my start back in, Atlanta, I, really got serious into the industry 2008, 2009, when I really started to make it a career. And it was with a busy business professional in Atlanta. And then I got a call. I got a call from an actor that I had the opportunity to work with. And this guy in particular wasn't preparing for a specific role at the time. It just wanted to get in shape. He was already in pretty good shape, wanted to get in great shape. And then he enjoyed it, which was good. I think things went really well for him. So then he referred, I guess it was his agent was friends with another actress's agent. And that actress was Alicia Silverstone, right? And so it was when she visited Atlanta for a role, staying in shape for a role. I had the opportunity to work with her. And even still to this day, the cool thing is when she's coming in out of Atlanta, I am working with her. But when she's outside of, Atlanta, back in LA, I'm able to work with her virtually. So that's been a really beautiful thing. It's just become a much more acceptable thing, I believe, since the pandemic. So that's been one thing. But Alicia was kind of the first kind of well-known actress that I had the opportunity to work with, and Alicia really enjoyed it. And I think it just kind of started to spread from there. The actors and actresses will talk among each other and the agents themselves, and a lot of it's done through the agents, a lot of it's done through the actors and actresses themselves, and so the web kind of spread from there. Again, never part of the business plan, but I love it because as the years went on, I then started to notice that these actors and actresses, were often coming with, certain time crunches. So they'd come to me and say, "Hey, I've got, 8 weeks to prepare for this role, that I've got to gain X amount of pounds and I've got to lose X amount of fat. And so can we make it happen? Absolutely. And here's what we need to do." And so really, detailing out that plan, not only from a training perspective, here's what we need to do. Here's what this needs to look like based on your time and availability. So we design a plan based on that. So their time and availability, around filming, if they've already started filming, or prior to, if they've got the availability in Atlanta and or virtually, and then nutritionally as well. And that, again, all comes down to the time that we have and availability that we have. Generally, there's no issue in terms of resources, but it's the time and availability. And so a lot of different ways to attack it. We go, obviously just based on time, we'll determine how extreme we go, with the nutritional stuff. But yeah, some of the most extreme roles, we lock it in. I mean, it's down to every single meal and snack being timed out, to every single training day and every hour and every minute locked up. So not just in terms of the actual training sessions themselves, but the rest and recovery and all that too that goes into it. So, it's different. It's all different again. Just comes down to what we have in terms of time. But we've had some crunch rolls, some stuff that's been very quick, and even, some as they're oftentimes going through and just kind of maintaining their health and fitness once they get to Atlanta, as they're staying fit for the roles. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I with working with those guys, it's, I enjoy the pressure of it, and knowing that, there's a lot of, it's a time crunch to get prepared for a specific role for a specific period of time. Knowing there's a lot of money involved, with these companies and all, and it's like, there's no choice but to not perform. We have to, I know that every day we got to show up, together and make it happen. And to me, that's just very exciting. So yeah, those are some of my favorites. So I love, we work with, we work with just about anybody and everybody at the studio, all shapes and sizes and ages and ability levels. But those cases are a lot of fun. The ones that, we're in a little bit of a time crunch and we got to really, prepare for something pretty quickly. There's a lot of fun.
Is there a lot of filming in your area, or are they coming by you?
Yeah, so Atlanta. So as Los Angeles has always been the big, the big one for film, right, for so long.
Yeah.
But then, with all the tax credits or whatnot in Atlanta, you start to see a lot of that stuff shifting over to Atlanta.
Oh.
So because of that, tons of filming happening in Atlanta. And so my one of two studios, so one at Lake Oconee, another in Atlanta, so the west side of Atlanta. Because it's kind of in the heat of that area, we're accessible, to the guys. Generally, they're doing a lot of the filming in that local area. So from there, it makes sense, for them being local, especially while they're filming, for us to be able to train, being close by. So whether it's before or after they're filming, in between, their days of filming, which oftentimes can be pretty chaotic. And then even, when they're not in Atlanta, so, preparing before or after a role, I had one of my guys, Yahya Mateen. Are you familiar with Yahya? So he's the Yahya Abdul Mateen. He's what he's most known for is Aquaman. So the Black Manta, right? That fought Jason Momoa, right? Aquaman in the film. So I didn't prepare him for Aquaman 1, but I did prepare him to play the role of Dr. Manhattan, right? So that was something I prepared him for, just in terms of developing build muscle, losing fat pretty quickly to prepare for that role. But Yahya, loved Yahya. I had the great opportunity to work with him, pretty intensely for that role. But then we continued on after that. So that was really cool. So even once he left town, we continued virtually, and then I prepared him for Aquaman 2. So and that was done virtually because just because he wasn't filming that role in Atlanta. So, to kind of go back to the virtual stuff, that's been a really, really nice blessing since the pandemic. It's just been a much more understood thing because prior to 2020, we didn't really see that. It was more of clients wanted us to build programs and send them with that program on their way and just expect for them to do that. And we're staying in touch by, call or text. But now we're doing as we are here, right? We're doing FaceTime and Zoom and Skype and looking at each other in the eyes as we're going through their programs. They're in their gym, they've got their headbuds in, and I'm, coaching them through their workouts just as we are right now. And so it's been a really cool thing. And in a way, if anything, positive came out of the pandemic, that was a really cool thing. In our industry, it's just become much more accepted, if you will.
So you said you work with people all different levels at your studio. So what's your studio called?
Studio's Kolowich. So we got Kolowich there. But we, so we work with all shapes and sizes, abilities, young athletes through those that my oldest client right now is almost 84 years old, and everything in between. So guys and ladies, all shapes and sizes. I would say that our typical client at Kolowich is a business professional. I would argue most of them, typical client. But again, we work with a little bit of everybody, and it's those to I would argue that most of our clients are just kind of weight loss, mobility interest, just interested in losing weight, building strength, staying mobile, flexible, all that, injury free. But yeah, a little bit of everything. So got a great little team between Atlanta and Lake Oconee. There's about 13 of us right now on the team. Personal trainers, everybody's, trainers, full squad of trainers, and then dietitian on our team as well. That handles all of our nutritional stuff. But yeah, so that I'd say, arguably the typical clients, the weight loss, kind of build muscle, lose fat client, but we do a little bit of everything. Our guys are trained to work with everybody.
Sure. So what's one simple fitness habit you think more people should add into their daily routine?
Gosh, what I would say is this, and I don't know whether we call it a fitness habit or not, but the biggest thing is sleep. I would say sleep. So you think, when do you feel your best? For me, it's absolutely after a good night of sleep. And maybe that's just because I've been sleep deprived over the last 7 years, having 3 kids. I have 3 boys. I have 3 young boys. Who I love dearly, and the most amazing thing in the world. But they it's always something, right? Whether they're in the middle of the night popping in, hey, checking up on mommy and daddy, or it's they whatever, our 6-year-old, he's almost 7. I mean, he doesn't like to sleep. He's perfectly fine with that. He's one of those genetically gifted kids where he could probably just go all day, every day without sleep. Now, the other 2 require a little bit more sleep, but there are better nights, of course, better nights of sleep for mom and dad. And I know me and everybody listening that when you get a good night of sleep, you just feel better. You're just sharper. You're more productive. Your energy levels are greater. You just think a little bit more, a little bit more clearly. And I just couldn't recommend enough doing the things that we need to do in order to get a good night of sleep, right? So preparing our bodies to get a good night's sleep, get a good night of sleep. And I believe if we can do that and focus on those things, I think number one, get a good night of sleep, everything else will just fall in line.
Yeah, a lot of people, either you're so tired you don't want to work out, you're tired so you eat more, or you're tired so your cortisol levels get jacked up, which makes losing weight harder yet, even if you're doing everything else, and it just sucks.
Right.
So,
You're exactly
that's
right.
a good answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
That wasn't what I was expecting you to say either, so interesting.
It's the first thing that came to my mind.
That's good. I thought you were going to be like 10,000 steps a day, just do that. And I'm like,
yeah. Well, that too. That's point number 2 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sleep number 1 for sure.
Sure. So how do you design workouts that are short but still deliver results?
So a lot of different ways to attack that one. But what I would say is this. I wrote a book called Fitter Faster, The Smart Way to Get in Shape in Minutes a Day. That was my very first book, wrote with a gentleman named Robert Davis, very smart guy. And that book was designed around workouts that are as short as 15 minutes. And so that was kind of the concept at the time. I think it was published in 2017, where the short, quick, and this still stands today, but it was really, people were latching on those short, quick, intense workouts. People are busier than ever before. So how can I be productive in a short period of time? So what I'm thinking when I'm designing these programs is, how can I be most effective in 15 to 30 minutes, right? If we only have 15, 30 minutes to be productive. So and again, there's a lot of ways to do this, but quick circuits. So just designing quick circuits where you're targeting all muscle groups. I found that what we see in this book, so we'll talk about specifically Fitter Faster, is workouts where we're going to opposing muscle groups in the back-to-back. So for example, short circuit, a chest exercise to a back, to a leg, to a core, then to maybe a leg and a bicep, then a straight to calf exercise, and then maybe another leg to a tricep, and then to low back, right? So just an example, just kind of circling through, keeping things moving quickly, never resting, attacking all muscle groups throughout the course of the program. So circuits, big on that. And there's so many different methods that I like to employ in my programs. And, of course, there's a place for straight sets, right? As we know, do a set, rest. But, employing things like supersets where you're working those back-to-back exercises of opposing muscle groups, trisets, 3 exercises in a row, giant sets, 4 in a row, circuits 5 or greater. So just really employing those little advanced techniques, I think keeping things moving, obviously for those that are capable of doing that, their fitness level allows that. I think that's the best method in way to really, attack a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah, I'll admit my home workouts are faster because I can do that, where you can't always do that at a gym, depending upon where the locations of everything is and who's all there, because then it gets kind of
exactly. Yep, you're absolutely right. So it gets a little bit trickier in those cases for sure. But yeah, if you got a little home gym setup, you got some adjustable dumbbells, or maybe not even, but if you got some adjustable dumbbells, maybe even a bench, golden.
Just body weight stuff you can do it with.
Or even body weight. There you go. Exactly.
So what are the most common fitness myths or misconceptions you hear from clients?
The first thing that comes to my mind there is, and I know, guys, Mike, for sure. I'm sure you probably heard this many times. Is if I lift weights, I'm going to get too bulky. Am I going to bulk up if I lift weights? That's probably the biggest misconception that I hear over and over and over again. And still, I feel like still to this day, it's just that, and that's just not the case. It's not that lifting, right? That's going to make certainly. I mean, we talk about muscle fiber, expansion, and as you lift hypertrophy, but that's definitely not the issue. That we're lifting weights alone are not going to do that, right? And we could go into all the science behind that, right? Of course, but the misconception behind lifting weights is going to make me look bulky is certainly not the case. I would say that's the number one misconception. Would you agree, or pretty close?
Yeah, when it comes to resistance training, that's what I feel like. That's what the females say. Most guys are fine with that. I will say it took me many years to start bulking up, and then to really put on size, it took me many years of lifting and eating a lot of food to bulk up. So it doesn't happen overnight.
So the cool thing is that is true, right? So that's true. That's it. It's all these other pieces that got to be in line. Caloric surplus for guys and ladies both. And the ladies in particular, guys with obviously testosterone levels being a little bit higher, making it a little bit easier. But yeah, even for we're just, as you said, ladies primarily, but that is a big concern. I'd argue with mostly the ladies for sure. But yeah, it's a lot tougher. I wish it was that easy. I certainly wish it was that easy. As you're saying, Mike, I wish it was that easy. That'd be a beautiful thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it takes a while. Like when you first start, you will put on muscle quicker than later on, but it's not like you bulk up like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually lost weight when I started lifting because I was quite a chunker when I was a kid. So it kind of helped me, get more muscle mass and less fat. So then I ended up weighing less, so it doesn't necessarily bulk you up.
Exactly.
So do you have a favorite bodyweight exercise that offers most bang for the buck? Can I guess what you're going to say?
First thing that came to my mind. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say a plank, but maybe I'm wrong.
That was pretty good. Okay, so kind of close, right? So I would say, and maybe this is multiple in one. I was going to say the burpees, like the first.
Oh,
But
sure.
you're talking with the burpee. You're talking, and depending on what version you're doing of the burpee, right?
Yeah.
I like the version where we throw in the push up. So
Yeah.
kind of the plank, right? So we got the plank and the push up, right? All the
Yeah.
way up, and we jump up to a squat jump. So basically working just about every muscle in the body. And that's kind of 2 exercises. But I would almost, so if we're not saying that is one, I'd say burpee for sure. But if that's not really one, because it's kind of a combination of exercises, the plank, yes, is a very good one. But also take it to the next level, just say the push up, right? So the push up, we are holding the plank, right? But then now we're also working the chest and the triceps as well. The shoulders, right? Isometrically, the quadriceps, basically just about every muscle in your body, right? In the push-up. So push-ups and pull-ups, huge on those. Obviously, if the pull-up's not in the cards, look into something like an assisted pull-up. So bringing in bands or assisted pull-up bands, things like that. I think those are really, really good. Some of my favorites for sure. Obviously love the squat. Bodyweight squat's great. Activating a lot of muscles that way, not only the legs, quads, hamstrings, glutes, but engaging the core as well. But burpee, if you can do those burpees, crank them out for sure. Then looking at push-ups, pulls, probably be some of my favorites there.
Yeah, I didn't think about a moving thing. That's why I was just like, well, plank, you just get everything. I mean,
you kind of do in a way, right? Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nobody likes planks, right? Because they're tough.
I don't mind them. They're kind of fun.
Oh, God bless you. You must like lunges too, no?
Yeah, I like lunges.
There you go. So you're the rare few is what I was going to say.
I'd rather do a lunge than a squat.
God bless you. I think in my clients, of all the clients I've worked with, I would say that I've probably met maybe one that likes a lunge. Just one. I think maybe one client, and she would probably, she's a client that did 30-minute sessions, and I think that she would probably be interested in, if it was up to her, she would lunge for 30 minutes straight. That was it. It just blew my mind. Her name was Kat. She was amazing. She loved the lunge. And but outside of Kat, I don't think that I've ever met another client that really loved the lunge. And I've worked with a lot of clients for a long time, and I just can't think of it.
I love the variations.
Like the second person I met that loves the lunge. That's good.
While I was working in physical therapy and playing some sports things yet, and I've done marathons and distance running, they're like, you should really focus on single leg strengthening if you're going to do all that. So I was like, fine. And I also had some issues, so that's kind of why I went to more single leg stuff.
No, that's so good. So you saw the benefits of it, right? And so you're thinking, okay, this is going to benefit me in all these ways. Let's do it. So good for you. I like that.
Yeah, that's why. What would you say is the hardest exercise?
The hardest exercise, hardest bodyweight exercise?
Yeah. I would say the Nordic curl, but maybe that's just me.
I don't know. That one didn't come to mind for me, but maybe.
I suck at it, so that's probably why I think it's hard.
I would almost say, so the one that probably, I mean, this isn't fair because you're bringing in an apparatus in this case, but like the pull-up. How many people
for beginners, it's hard.
Typically, right, they can just crank a pull-up, and we're saying like a wide grip pull-up, right? Pronator versus like a chin-up, right? A wide grip pull, just the percentage, I don't know. I'm curious. I'm gonna search that and try to do a little research on what the.
I guess I probably have been doing pull-ups for years. So I don't think about it now, but Nordic hamstring curls are newer, so I still suck at them.
Yeah, those are tough. So that's a good one. That's a really good one, I would say. I think that's right there too. Absolutely, in a different way. Pain.
Yeah. So what keeps you personally motivated to stay consistent with your own fitness? Well, I'm guessing that's your whole business, so you kind of have to, but
that helps tremendously for sure. It absolutely does. Yeah. But I'll say this, it's funny, and I could go on and on about this. Let me take a step back. Okay. So my kids motivate me more than ever. Right. So now that I'm 40, coming up on 43, I'll be 43 Fridays in a couple of days. Young kids they've got so much energy, and, after a long work day, working at the studios and just doing, just a busy day all day, every day, coming home and the kids saying, hey, Dad, I feel like the day's just beginning, in their eyes. Daddy, let's go do this. Let's go do that. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And so just having the energy to be able to keep up with those guys, 6 and 4 and a 3-year-old. And that alone is motivating for me. That's motivating for me just to try to stay as healthy and as fit as I possibly can to be able to keep up with them. Now, so that's a big thing. But prior to having kids, I would say, and this is still the case, short, long-term goals. So setting short and long-term goals. Short term for me, and that depending on how you look at that, weekly, I'll set weekly goals for myself. So that would be a short-term goal, and it depends on what it is, and that changes for me. But I would say, so just to kind of put it pretty simple, and one that pretty often I'll keep I'm always trying new things, but a body composition goal. So I like to do, we have a device at the studio, an ultrasound device, which is we do our body composition testing with, right? So how much muscle, how much fat we have, how much water in our body. So, I'll establish a baseline, determine where I am, and then 1 week later, I'll go back and I'll do it again. And generally that's pretty quick. That's pretty frequent. And we'll typically do them every month with our clients at the studio. So those are kind of our general short-term goals. But for me, this is just a more recent goal for me, is I'll do it weekly, and I'll check in, and that next week I'll kind of have a goal in my mind, and if I don't hit it, I'll make adjustments nutritionally. I may make adjustments to my training, but generally it's nutrition, and then I'll get another week and I'll make those adjustments, and I'll tack, get to where I want to be, kind of say, okay, I'm going to level out right now, or I'm going to focus on building some muscle and try to sustain where my body fat is. And so having those first that long-term goal. So setting a long-term goal, 3 months from now, I want to be here. I want my body fat percentage to be here. And then week by week, I'm going to set these individual targets, and I'm going to shoot to see if I can get there in that 3 months, right? So having those short-term, those week by week goals, and then that long-term goal in the end is that's enough to keep me motivated. And I'll say this too, Mike. With clients, I believe it's so important too. It's so important. Now, doesn't have to be a body composition goal. That just happens to be mine right now, right? Focus on those things, but it could be something as simple as walking through the door. I had a guy, just tell you a quick story, a guy named Mike as well, successful business owner in Atlanta. And he, would train in the evenings. And I remember him, oftentimes showing up late for sessions, and we'd have to, hey, Mike, what's going on, Mike? Were you late? Well, he finally said, Brad, look, I've just got so much going on with business. I'm really developing my business. It's growing. Now he's doing so well, which is so cool to see. But he said, for me, if my goal right now, and the guy looked amazing too. He looked unbelievable, just aesthetic, and was in great shape. But he said, my goal is just to simply walk through the door. If I walk through the door and I show up, even if it's 5 minutes out of my hour session, I'm good. That's enough for me right now. And hey, it might even be I'll walk in for the last 5 minutes of my session, and I may not even have the steam, the mental, capacity to even do anything, but maybe we'll just throw the football. And I said, okay, Mike, if that's your goal, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing. So I hold them accountable to that, right? So it just depends. I mean, everybody's different. And so with clients, as they're incoming, we set short-term goals, we set long-term goals, and we do whatever it is to stay on top of those goals. And I found that to be, not only for myself to be effective, to keep me motivated, but for sure the client as well.
Yeah, I think creating a why behind why you're training is beneficial because it keeps you motivated, like you said. And then I feel like after time, like for me, I just know what days I'm doing what workouts, and I just show up, because after a while, sometimes motivation does go out the door, but then routine just kind of kicks in and you just kind of go through the motions, I guess.
And that's what we want. And that's when you start to see those lifestyle shifts. So absolutely.
Yeah. And I would say recently I work more in an outpatient setting with patients and clientele, but I used to work in nursing homes for a really long time. And you could really tell as people aged who kind of took care of themselves and who didn't, and how much function and enjoyability they still had in their life and who didn't. And I was just like, I want to be in the functional group. So I'm going to take better care of myself.
Absolutely. And it's evident that you do that, Mike. That's for sure.
Yeah. So just people that don't pay attention to your elders, start paying attention.
That's right. I agree. 1,000%. And, that's another really good point too. And I'll just quickly touch on that, is that I've got some of and you, for sure, you, Mike, I'm sure with the folks that you're working with, this particular client that's just about turned 84 just rings into my head. In fact, I saw him earlier today. One thing that he says all the time, and he repeats, is that I wish I had just done this stuff sooner, consistently. I don't want to say beats himself up about it because he's got such a great mentality, this guy, but he just, he regrets not doing this stuff in his earlier years. And so I always say, hey, look, Jesse, it's never too late. It's never too late, right? To what you're doing. And it's unbelievable what he's done just over the last couple of years with his body, even starting in his early 80s, right? Really. I mean, it's night and day. He's a whole different guy a couple of years later, but just trying to do this stuff earlier in life so that, we don't have to have those regrets that I hear so often from some of our older guys.
So, how do you modify workouts for older adults or people dealing with any type of limitations?
So I would say that most people, and not just some of our older adults, but most people have limitations. Of course, our elders that we've gone along with for whatever reason it may be, but obviously establishing what movement patterns they're capable of. So we learn of that ahead of time, and then we obviously avoid movement patterns that cause sharp pain, generally, right? And so adjusting movement patterns around limitations, and we do things that that they're capable of, around those limitations, right? So and then so that number one, avoiding sharp pain, things that could make things worse, and then secondly, you think of, and I'm just going to give a basic example of a push-up, right? If a true push-up is not possible, we're not able to do a true push-up, then we look to a modified push-up, right? So rather than being from our feet on a push-up, we go to the knees, right? Simple as that. And then, if we can't do a body weight squat, then we use assistance, right? So we grab hold on to the rack, the power cage or something in order to get down and go through that movement pattern, assuming that there are no limitations there. So there's always ways to modify, movements, whether we in particular just avoid the movement pattern altogether, or we simply modify. And I'm sure you probably agree with what you're doing as well, Mike, with a lot of that, right? You're dealing with that all day, every day on a much larger scale than I am, I'm sure.
Yeah, right now it's primarily orthopedic surgery, so they're on a very slow progression back from rotator cuff surgery or knee replacement or whatever they're dealing with. But,
absolutely, God bless you. Absolutely,
some pretty low level stuff. So, do you want to talk a little bit more about the book specifically and how it's kind of set up? Because it seems like, just from looking at it, it's kind of all the different exercises, how to do them correctly, forms, techniques, and tips with them, and how to modify them, as well as some stretching, and then you kind of have how to put it all together. Correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So we dive into some of the science behind it all. So some of the concepts that we're using there, the progressive overload, the techniques, the things that we're changing as we are at the end, as you'll see. Prior to that, we go through all the exercises, talk about all the body weight exercises, show them how they're done. Multiple movements of each of those individual body weight movements. We talk about how to do them, but then even more importantly, with these movements, how do we integrate them into our programs, right? So rather than just saying, go do a push-up, we want to know how do we incorporate that into a program? What does that look like in a routine? The Bodyweight Blueprint is all body weight, right? So how do we integrate that push-up, for example, into a full body weight routine where we're targeting all of our muscle groups? And so I've designed a 12-week program in progression through that 12 weeks. So talk about modifications to those exercises. So if we're not able to do the particular push-up, for example, from the feet, we then come down to the knees and we do the push-up. So there are modifications all the way through. So it can certainly be completed by some of our folks that are a little bit earlier on in their training. So really everybody's able to do this, but it's absolutely for the intermediate and advanced as well. So beginner, intermediate, advanced. But we do progress through it. Things get a little bit more complex as we're going through. So rather than things just our true our straight sets, and then we start looking to supersets, and then trisets and giant sets, and just progress and making things a little bit more difficult. Things start to move a little bit faster, a little bit shorter rest periods. Progressing into some more difficult exercises as the program goes on, but again, providing modifications as we need to safely. And yeah, so every workout, all the strength workouts, they're designed to activate every muscle group, every workout. right? So rather than just having a push day, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But rather than having a push day and then a pull day and then maybe a lower body day, we do full body every day. So the way I've designed this program, and then working in some high intensity cardio stuff. What does that look like to start? And then progressions through those things. So shortening up the rest periods and increasing the working periods. Talk about some conventional cardio stuff, some plyometrics, that sort of stuff, some mobility, flexibility stuff. So really put together like a full, what do I do every day for 12 weeks, right? And then ways to scale it back as well. If you're, someone's not interested in doing 6 days of activity, well, how do we scale that back? And we can certainly do that too. But yeah, it's all body weight, a lot of really good stuff, activating as many muscle, groups as possible, and hoping that by the end of that 12 weeks, you've really transformed. If it's not, just physically, because that's certainly going to happen, definitely mentally, and just feeling better all the way around.
So where can people find this book at, and where can they find you online?
So this book, all your favorite book retailer, pretty much everywhere. But a lot of people like Amazon, right? That's kind of the quick, healthy shop there. So you can certainly go to Amazon.com, or Human Kinetics as well carries it. But all your retailers, I feel like I've seen it just about everywhere. So wherever you like to shop. And then our studio is kolofit.com. So KOLOFIT.com. More about the studios and myself as well.
And if you want to see Brad with a ponytail man bun, you got to get the book. There's many pictures of it.
That's right.
Is there anything I forgot or you would like to add?
I think you nailed it. I think that's wonderful. I couldn't stress enough just the importance of just staying active. It's not, about what we see in the mirror. That's the byproduct, and that's something I like to always talk about with my clients. Is it's not about, because so many of us, at the end of the day, hey, we all want to look great and feel great, but at the end of the day, it really is about just feeling better. And when you're having a tough day, you're having a long day, especially at the end of the day, you're just tired, kind of maybe stressed out from a long day, just go work out, go exercise. Give you something. It doesn't have to be one of the intense workouts that you may see in the book there, but just something as simple as just going for a walk, and just pay attention to how you feel at the end of that. So just super huge on movement, and just staying active, taking care of your body, eating healthy, staying around good people, getting your sleep, and that's what it's all about.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me as well, Mike.